In this video, I show you why simply moving your softbox will radically change the look and feel of your portraits. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers, and today you join me in my small home studio. Now you might think working in a small studio space means you have to use a small light modifier. Well, you'd be mostly right if I'm honest with you, but I do have something a bit bigger. I've got this. This is a 48-inch by 16-inch StripBox. Yeah, I know. It is a big light source, it's a wide light source when you use it this way round, and that's how I like to use it for headshots. But it also opens up some questions. Being fairly large, where should it be positioned for best use? Should it be in front of the model? Should the model be in the middle? Or should it be behind the model? Well, the answer is, it depends on the look you want to achieve, and that's what we're going to explore in this video. So let's get some light set, let's get a model in, let's get shooting. So to help me out today, I've got the amazing Brian. Brian is going to be the model for this shoot, and he is not going to move. The distance between Brian and the background will remain exactly the same throughout all these shots. The only thing that's going to move is the position of the softbox, so we can see how that affects the pictures. Now to begin with, I'm going to start with a fairly standard position for a softbox. In other words, it's in front of Brian. I've already metered this out for f5.6. Let's take a picture, see how it looks. Okay, Brian, here we go. And what we get here is just a classically lit portrait. There's a little bit of shadow on Brian's right-hand side as we look at the picture, and when Brian turns to look towards the light source, well, it's a very similar story. For my next setup, what I've done is move the softbox backwards, so now the back of the softbox is more or less in line with the back of Brian's head. This is actually my go-to lighting setup for headshots. It means that most of the surface of the softbox is in front of Brian. That means we get light coming all the way around, wrapping around and lighting, well, both the side nearest the softbox and a little bit on the cheeks over this side too. But being closer to the light, it will affect the exposure. I could do trial and error, or I can just get my flash meter and work out how much light is on Brian, and it is f8, so I've gained a stop. I can either dial in f8 or just turn the power of the flash down, which is what I'm going to do, and I can get back to f5.6. Okay, let's take a shot like this. Okay, Brian, here we go. Now we have a portrait with a lot more contrast. There's plenty of shadow on the right-hand side, but there's also plenty of detail. I can see Brian's eye, there's a catch light in it, and even when Brian turns towards the light source, this still works and has a lovely three-dimensional feel. Now I've moved the light so it is exactly central on Brian. There's as much light on the back of him as on the front. Now in theory, this should give me a split light look, a lit side and a shady side. But before I take the picture to prove that, I'm going to check the exposure. If you've moved the light, check your exposure. Here we go. And in fact, it's exactly the same as it was before. So that's great. Let's take the picture. Okay, here we go. This is exactly what I expected. There's a bright side and a dark side, and in those shadows there's very little detail, not even a catch light. But when Brian turns to look towards the light, it's a different story. This works fantastically well as a portrait. And the background, well, that's slightly brighter because of course the softbox is closer to it. So finally, I've got the softbox so Brian is in line with the front edge. That means almost all of the softbox is behind him. That should give some interesting effects. Firstly, it means much more of the light is going to reach this background. That should go a lighter tone of grey, and very little light is actually going to reach Brian, certainly very little on this side of him at least. But the challenging part of this is actually getting the metering right. Now I could get my flash meter and point it at the camera, but if I do that, I'm only getting f2.2. I need to meter for the light, I want to meter for the highlights. So I'm going to point my flash meter actually at the flash, and I get f5. That's still not quite f5.6, so I can adjust it and get back to f5.6. Okay, let's take this picture. Now the background is much brighter, which is to be expected, and the shadows on Brian's face, well, they're creeping ever more to the left-hand side as we look at the picture. When Brian turns towards the light, well, actually I can see a little bit of detail in the eye on the right-hand side, and this would make a great portrait if the background was a nice deep dark black. So as you can see, by moving the softbox around, we can completely change the look on Brian. So let's do a little bit more creative photography. I'm going to change the light around and we'll take a few pictures. So Brian, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a shoot. So let's start by getting that softbox back to the front of you. So let's move that softbox so you're in the middle, and then because more light will reach the background, I'm going to put a different background in, something with some texture. Right, that softbox is all the way behind you now, so I'm going to need to turn the chair a little bit just so you look into that front edge of the light. So where should you place your softbox in relation to your model for the best portraits? Well, the answer is everywhere, because the more you move your light, the more you'll learn and the more variety you'll be able to create in your portraits. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave me a comment below, and of course, don't forget to click on that subscribe button. And to get notifications of all of our new uploads on Adorama TV, click on the bell icon. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.